Thank you so much for joining me on my channel, and we are in our second series of The God of a Second Chance. And I'm here with a man called Second Chance himself, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how he got that name and why we call him Second Chance. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Minister James. It's a pleasure to be in your presence.
You're welcome. All right, so I noticed that you have the name Second Chance, and that matched with the series that I have, The God of a Second Chance.
Yes.
So I remember some years ago I was in church and I heard you testifying, and based on your testimony, it's like you felt, I got the feeling that you felt that you owe your whole life to God. Is that the case? Tell us what happened and why, and how you came by being called Second Chance.
All right, well, as my testimony goes, I was a young Christian back then, and this is years and years ago. And young Christian, living the Christian life, walking the Christian walk. And I got to a point where I literally felt like I was above the earth, And so, lo and behold, one day I was just on my journey, and like the devil tempted Eve and Adam, I got caught in a temptation and I yielded. And after I yielded as a young man, I did not know how to respond, so I ended up backsliding, as they would say, from the church. So I was, music minister, praise and worship leader, all of that stuff. And I ended up making a slip, a mistake, and fell from grace, as you would say, and ended up backsliding and falling out of the church.
So when you fell, you had encountered an accident somewhere along the line, like you had a terrible accident.
Right, that was further down the road, yes.
And so that in that testimony you said that God gave you a second chance.
Absolutely.
So how did that accident happen?
All right, so before we get to the accident, let me just say then that while I was in my backslidden state, because we have to get to the point of how I became Second Chance.
Second Chance, yes.
So while I was in my backslidden state, I left the state of Florida, where I was living at the time, and I went to New York. And, I put earring in my ear, glasses, the big pants and the big shoes, because guess what? Ain't nobody gonna recognize me as a little Christian boy from Florida. So I was walking through the streets of Brooklyn, and one day, two ladies, older ladies, never seen them before, never seen them again. But they stopped me in the middle of the road, and it was just like people on the street sides, a lot of people. And they picked me out of the crowd. And one was telling the other one that I was an amazing person if they ever saw me lead praise and worship and stuff like that. And she was just admonishing praises onto me. And I was just standing there in shock, because I couldn't even believe. This was my first time in Brooklyn, and somebody was there that was able to recognize me and point me out from a church that they knew me in Florida.
Wow.
And that was crazy to me. However, in that moment, I felt like God was tugging back on me to come back to the house anyways. So anyways, a few months after that, I ended up in a nightclub. And at that nightclub, I was literally just dancing and drinking and doing my thing. I ain't thinking about church, nothing. In the middle of the party, it literally felt like the music stopped and everything stood still. Just like this moment right here, just quiet. And I heard a voice as clear as day. Look at your shoes, look at your pants, look at your shirt. And I looked down, and instantly I realized that I was fully dressed for Sunday morning service.
What?
The shoes I had on was for church. The pants, everything, because I didn't have party clothes. So I was fully dressed for church. And this time it was after midnight on a Saturday night, so it was already Sunday morning. So right there I dropped the cup. Right there I dropped the cup in the club. And I broke out into tears, and I started running back to the house. And the song that was in my head was Coming Home. And basically that's how I ended up going back to the house. And then I flew back to Florida a few months later, went back to church, repented, and gave my life back to God. The name they wanted to give me was the Prodigal Son. But that name was already taken by an artist in Jamaica, so they changed it and said, well, Pastor Candy said, listen, Second Chance. And ever since then, the name got stuck as Mr. Second Chance. So that's the story there.
So from a backslidden stage to coming back to God, you got the name Second Chance.
Initial, right.
And were you a performing artist at that time, or after?
Yes,
You
I
were?
started performing. I was a performer at that time. I started doing ministry in '95.
Okay.
Started singing, recording in 1995, and this started taking place about '98, somewhere there. So a few years later. But yeah, definitely was an artist.
So God gave you a second chance to come back to His house.
Right.
So tell us now, based on your testimony,
Right.
you said you had a terrible accident.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it was on 95 or somewhere, but I that got me excited to know how did God bring you back,
Back.
And what really happened. So let's hear the story.
Awesome. So yes, so one night I was driving on the turnpike. It was raining, and the car physically just went out of control. It's like I was driving the car, but there was no steering. I believe they call that an hydroplane. So it was raining, the road was wet. I was doing a decent speed, and being young, and I probably was going faster than I was supposed to go. Just being honest. And so the car hydroplaned and ran into the wall.
Wow.
And when it hit the wall, I blacked out. And in the car, all I remember was seeing a bright light, and I really thought it was the light at the end of the tunnel, because you always hear people say, especially from the island, that when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's over. So I literally thought I was dead. But then, in that moment of being blacked out and I saw the light, I woke up and I realized then for the first time I was actually happy to see the police.
Wow. That's funny.
Yeah, it was the police and not the light at the end of the tunnel, but it was definitely a bright light and it woke me up, and I was like, wow, I'm not dead, and because of my background, I'm from the ghetto in Jamaica, me up in Clarendon, so me a bad boy. You understand me? I say, so me and police not take tea. But on this particular night, I was in total appreciation for realizing that this was the police and I was not dead.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So in that moment, yes, that was definitely another chance for me to get up and testify yet again of the goodness of God, because I was not the driver. And said, and there's a song that says Jesus took the wheel, and in that moment He took that wheel, because that's the only reason I'm alive today.
Why do you believe that God gave you that second chance?
I believe I got that second chance because when you have a work to be done, when there's something for you to do, you can't just die. Because once you're dead, that's the ultimate end of it all. So the moment that you're still alive, the fact that you have another opportunity to do something better, to do something again, to express to somebody that, listen, it could have been over here, but we have an opportunity to do it again and again and do it better and better. So I believe that my life was extended to be able to reach somebody's life.
And so with this opportunity, you will use it to do more ministry, because I know you're a gospel singer, right?
I'm a gospel artist, yes.
And you think this is your calling to do music to tell the world that Jesus Christ is Lord?
No, I don't think so at all.
What's your calling?
My calling is that I know so. So there's a difference between thinking so and knowing so.
Okay.
And I don't think it, I know it.
You know.
Because it's like there's everything that's within me that's doing this. So even if I'm thinking I want to go be a doctor, I want to go be a nurse, I want to do something more constructive with my life, there's something within me that just continuously pushes me towards ministry, to encourage somebody, to put your life out there on the line and just let them know, hey, be encouraged, it's not over. As long as you have breath in your body, you can do it.
And every time you hear the name Second Chance, does it say something to you? Does it remind you that you are like a prisoner of God because He's giving you this opportunity, or it's just a name?
The name Second Chance represents the ultimate line in my life of where it could have all stopped. And grace, mercy, God, all of that plays back, and it keeps me humble, because it reminds me every time I hear that name that you are living on grace time, so make the best of it.
I like that. You're
Yes.
living on grace time.
Yes.
We want to find out, if you had it to do all over again, if you had an opportunity to be a teenager and to live your life all over again, would anything be different in your life, or would you continue on the same track?
If I had it to do over again, the one thing I would change is less fear. More focus, more positivity, and less fear.
And fear of what?
Fear of the games that your mind plays with you. Because a person will tell you not to do something or to do something, and you will be doing something, but you're doing it halfway because you are afraid of the outcome. So not being able to predict an outcome has caused me to be cautious, not just let my hair down and just go for it. You know, you have to think about this. This has to be in place. You have to dot all the I's and cross all the T's to get it right. I would spend less time trying to get it right and just put more bravery and openness into it.
So we're going to ask Mr. Second Chance to share with the viewers what he think, what's his advice to those who are listening. What do he think they should do with the second chance? Because many are listening, they don't know how to start over. I want to find out from him what he thinks. I want to encourage you, first of all, that this is a man who had backslidden, and he had a second chance in life to turn back to God. Many people backslid, and they're still out there wondering, will the church accept them, especially when they were high in position and they're afraid to be stigmatized. But he tell you that, you know, he was in the club, all dressed up, looking like church.
Absolutely.
Because when there's a mark on you, you just cannot escape God. And he also had a terrible accident, and God took the wheel that night, and he is able to come back and share with the world. He's a famous musician, and I have a few CDs, and he's going to tell us, where can we get the CDs to buy?
The CDs are actually available online and all platforms, from iTunes to, I mean, they're all there. YouTube, Facebook, iTunes. Just look for Mr. Second Chance or Minister Second Chance. You can reach me at ewartblake@icloud.com. That's my email, or Walk Good Productions. That's WALKGUD Productions.
If you follow my page, you will see that there are songs from Second Chance. I Now Worry About Nothing. That's one of my favorite songs. I play it every morning going to work. And I'm so royal because, you know, that song reminds me that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And he's one of the ministers where you will be crying one moment and the next moment you'll be rejoicing. And I'm not really a person who listens to kind of reggae singing, but he kind of mixes everything, reggae, mental, soft. So you kind of want to hear him all the time. And he's very anointed while he's singing. And, you know, you should get some of those CDs out there. But because his songs are very anointed, and I'm more than all happy that he came to share his testimony today. But tell the viewers, Mr. Second Chance.
Yes.
There's some who are in prison.
Right.
There's some who listen, who are backslidden.
Yes.
There are many viewers there, and they're wondering, okay, God has given me the second chance. I'm sure that he has spoken to me. He's given, but I'm afraid to start over. I've lost everything. What would you say to those viewers today?
Oh my gosh. And that's a part of my life that you don't know anything about. But yes, I too was arrested.
Wow.
On my doorstep, because I too was just young and giddy and happy and did not understand the consequences of life. But at the end of the day, the fact that you're not dead, it means that you're still purposed. You have a purpose in your belly that has to come forth. There's somebody's life that will be changed because you stood up. Understand that when I backslid, I visited my sister's church, and I thought I was the worst devil. I mean, I felt so bad. I was beating up myself so bad. If I could fight, I would just beat myself. And when I walked into my sister's church in Mount Vernon, New York, I never forget this. The guy who was speaking that Sunday morning, he went up and he introduced himself. He had a big title. And when he introduced himself, he said, in his introduction, he says, like, I am Minister Paul John III. And I will tell you this, that I found the Lord on death row. Now here I was sitting in the church, beating up myself for this little thing that I did. And I thought I was the worst thing ever. Only to be ministered to by a preacher who said, I found God on death row. And in that moment, I grasped a new prospect on life. And the fact is that as long as you still have breath blowing in your body, God ain't through with you yet.
Amen.
And that is the bottom line. So if you just allow God and goodness to flourish from a place of experience, because when you've experienced the left, you will now be enlightened how to do it right. So the idea is to just use your experience to uplift your future.
Amen.
That's
Amen.
it.
Amen. Amen. You've heard him yourself, and thank you for watching Thank you for staying tuned. God bless you. Stay tuned to the next series. God bless you.
God bless you.